Hey everyone, welcome to regalstamping.com. This is Krista Thomas, and today I have something super exciting to share with you, and that is something that Stampin Up has released that will be in the next annual catalog that will begin in June. But we get to order it starting April 1st, and I'm going to show you a little bit about it. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's called the Ornate Garden Suite, and it contains 2 bundles, so 2 stamp sets and 2 die sets, and designer series paper and a 3D embossing folder and accessories, and it's just stunning. So let me show you real quick. Here's the flyer, and you'll be able to print this from my blog. Be sure to download it first. There's a little arrow, facing down arrow at the bottom when you open the PDF, and then from there, once you download it, you'll be able to print as usual. Okay, this suite includes the Ornate Thanks bundle, which is this thank you set, all kinds of different ways to say thank you. It's really pretty. And then the dies, it's a border die set called Ornate Borders that is really nice. The other bundle is the Ornate Style stamp set, and it has this gorgeous floral spray and a corner flourish and a border. And the dies are the Ornate Layers dies, and I'm going to be showing you some cards with those really soon. But they are intricate, they're lacy, they're just absolutely beautiful. The designer series paper is called Ornate Garden Specialty Designer Series paper, and it is absolutely stunning. Look at this. I don't know if you'll be able to see the gold foil that's in it. I'm just going to kind of do this. And then the other side is absolutely beautiful. The pieces go together and create beautiful cards, and I will be showing you some of this on some cards here in a bit. The Ornate Floral 3D embossing folder, I'll show you. You'll be able to see the design a little bit better later. And then there's 2 colors of ribbon and some gilded gold gems. They're called gilded gems. They're like a diamond or a rhinestone would be, and they are shiny gold. They're gorgeous. So let me show you some cards that I made with this suite, and here's one. I used the border dies here and here. I said, so grateful for all your help. So very simple card, and I'm going to show you how to make that right now. So the card base is terracotta tile, and it measures 8.5 by 5.5, and then we'll fold it in half. And then the next piece is a very vanilla panel, and the dies that we'll be using on this I have here in my magnetic bowl. If you've never seen a magnetic bowl, you can get them at Harbor Freight if you have one locally. Otherwise, I would say look online. They're great for keeping your dies together, and if you worry about losing them, that will help. So I used this particular die, and I just put it evenly spaced and fairly close to the edge here. And I'm going to bring in my Big Shot. And one thing that I have found that these dies, they have a lot of those little intricate pieces that don't always fall out like we'd like them to. And so I am going to be using dryer sheets. If you've never seen this technique, let me tell you about it. I use Bounce, and I use the unscented because I just don't like the smell that I get. I'm going to take 3 layers. Sometimes I need 4, so you'll have to play with your machine. I was playing with this the other day, and 4 dryer sheets together, which made 8 layers, was just a little too much. So today I've got 3 folded in half for 6 layers, and these are new dryer sheets, You can't use the used ones. And we're just going to lay those on here and put this on here and then put a clear plate over it. And crank it through. What the dryer sheet is going to do is the paper is going to adhere to it as I run it through. So you can see I've got the design cut out. I want to do one more before I lift this off and show you the awesomeness of using dryer sheets. Well, this time the magnets are wanting to pull, so I'm going to use a little sticker there to hold that in place. I think I've got that pretty equal across. Run this through again. And peel this off. That little thing up there. Now watch. This has stuck to the dryer sheet. I'm going to peel this off and watch. See how all those little divots are staying behind? And this is an intricate one, so I have to be really careful. If you do this, you'll want to be careful as well. You don't want to rip your design. And those little heart shapes are what's kind of wanting to pull. So just very careful. And except for that one heart, come on, let go. Well, it just really wants to be a part of that. Okay, I ripped it just a tad, but see how all those little pieces stayed on here? Isn't that cool? And you can reuse and reuse and reuse for quite a while. So you get lots of use out of these dryer sheets. And so I'm going to set that aside now. The next piece that we're going to need is a piece of the Designer Series paper. And we're going to use this die. And this is from the Ornate Layers. We're going to cut this shape out of here. And yeah, let's go ahead and use that dryer sheet again. Just because there are lots of little tiny dots in here that I don't want to have to dig out. Oh, and the one thing that you'll find is when you're cutting these rectangular frame shapes, I started to cut that. You're going to want to go through at just slightly a diagonal angle, because then you're not squishing one edge or side out when it goes through the big shot. You're not squishing that all at once. You'll find it cuts better. So I do that with the rectangular stitched dies and any frames that are like this. And you'll just see that they cut better. Same thing with long dies like the one I just used here. Always go through the long way, don't run it through this way. You just get a better cut if you're only putting part of it through at a time. You know, it's getting squished as it rolls through rather than all of it being under the roller at one time. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so I ran that through. I'm going to peel this off and get this off of, and you can see all of those little dots are staying behind. Yay. Okay, but now I want to show you something. This die is actually going to be a little bit too long for the front of my card. I want that to all be on top of that vanilla panel. So what I'm going to do is place this back in the die, and it's pretty easy to realign. And I'm just offsetting it a little bit. You can see this end isn't going to cut anything down here. And I just want to cut that end. So I'm going to lay this in here like this. And if you kind of wiggle it once it's on here, you can feel that the edges are lined up. I'm going to go ahead and go through again. And I just need that end to cut, so I don't have to go all the way through. Peel this off again, and now you can see that this little section has been removed. And let's see if that fits this panel a little better. It does. If I wanted to, I could run it through again and get it just a little bit narrower, but I think that that's going to be fine. So we're going to leave that for now. Okay, and I can throw that little piece away. Next, I need to cut this frame out of the early espresso color. So let's get all of this on. And again, I want to go through at a little bit of an angle. I think what I'll do is this going to fit down here? Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and cut this off because then I have a little bit more leeway to place it diagonal. It's just going to cut better. Here we go. We're on top of that stack of dryer sheets. You'll know if you have too many dryer sheets or too much of a thickness if it's really hard to put through your big shot. You never want to force something through. So if you find that it's just not going, and I think I'll go one more pass. I'm not sure I really needed to, but let's do it. You want it to be firm, but not so tight that you're forcing it. Okay, so let's peel this off of the dryer sheets now. We'll get this part away. And now carefully lift a corner and gently pull. Look at all those little pieces are staying behind. Isn't that awesome? Okay, so we're building our card. So we're getting there. There's our 3 layers here. Now we need a vanilla layer using this stitched rectangular shape, and this is part of the Ornate Layers dies. So you don't have to have another set to do this. And let's go ahead and get, I think I'll go ahead and go like that. And actually for this one, there's no little pieces that come out. I really don't need the dryer sheets on there. So we'll just go ahead and remove them. Wouldn't have hurt anything to leave it on, but that's okay. Okay, so there is our rectangle, and that's going to fit right in the middle of this previously cut die. Okay, now I want to cut some things for the inside while we've got the big shot out. So for the inside, I need a smaller frame, and that's going to be out of the early espresso color. And for this one, I do want to do it on top of the dryer sheets. And again, tilt it a little bit diagonal. Once we get all this die cutting done, then it just goes together really fast. There's a couple of stamps that we'll stamp, and then it'll be done. We just assemble. Okay, let's get this guy out of here. Very carefully pull this out. Okay, this one is intricate, so you do have to kind of be careful, and you don't want to rip anything. They've got these little curly cues in here that kind of pull. Okay, so you can see we got most of the little pieces out, if not all. I think we have a few down here that we might have to poke out. But it sure beats having to do all of those. These dryer sheets will really save your bacon. Okay, one more vanilla piece, and we're going to use this same rectangular stitched die from the set, but it is too long for this die. So I'm going to show you a little trick. Well, I guess I already showed it to you earlier. First, we're going to cut this out of vanilla. All right. And then I'm going to place it over this to see where I need that to be cut off at. And I think I want it right about there. I'm just going to kind of make a little mark with my thumbnail. And I'm going to put the end of this die right where that thumbnail mark was and get the edges lined up again. The stitching on it just kind of falls right back into the previously cut or embossed stitching there. And every time you do this, you know, there's times where it maybe is off a little and you have to start over, but 95% of the time it works just great. So now what we did is we just cut a new end, and look at that. So we can discard this little piece, and this one is now going to fit this frame just the way I want it to. Isn't that cool? Okay, so let's put these dies in the Big Shot aside, and we'll do a little bit of stamping. We've got these two pieces here. I'm going to be using Old Olive ink. And the stamp I'm going to use, if I do the same thing that I did here, is So Grateful. So that will go on here. And then on the inside I said for all your help. So let's grab that one. And we'll put it on the block like that. Okay. I need a block for this one. This is the H block. So this fits those words really well. I feel like it's not quite. There we go. Get it on there as straight as I can. Okay, so that'll go on the front of the card. And then For All Your Help is going to go on this little tag here. Okay, like that. And now we can assemble. Okay, so this is our background piece. Let's use my handy dandy tool here to get just a few of those little pieces out that didn't want to originally come out. That one still doesn't. There we go. 1, 2. There were only 2 on each side. Not too bad. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and glue that down. And those little hearts that are in this area are going to want to pop up. So I'm just going to put a couple little drops of glue on those pointy areas, and that should do the trick. Get all that off here. Okay. A little bit oozing. Okay. That one wants to be crooked. All right, next up is this piece, and it'll just go right down the middle. Okay. And then this one. And that's just going to center on here. And then So Grateful will go right in the middle of that. If you love this suite, order it right away, because we are still in this coronavirus period. And I think that they're back in production, but I don't know. I just would want to get it right away so that things don't go into a back order status. This is going to go down on the inside. The vanilla panels for the front and the inside measure 4 by 5 1/4. All right, let's go ahead and use my Take Your Pick tool, get a couple of those little divots out of there. That one just wants to cling on. One more, right there. Okay, I think that's all of them. That can go right in the middle. And then the rectangle with the words on it goes centered inside of that. And there we have an Ornate Garden card that was made mostly with dies, a little bit of stamping, and it is oh so gorgeous, don't you think? All right, next up, I want to show you a card made with the other stamp set called Ornate Style. And this one looks like this. I started with an Old Olive card base, and then I added a Daffodil Delight little strip here, 2 inches wide by 4 1/4. And then I cut this gorgeous frame, but I added a rectangle stitched die to the inside. Let me show you. Let me get this box over here. And we'll need the Big Shot back up here. So the rectangle stitched dies are one of my most used sets. And I've got to get all my dies out here. Okay, for this card we're just using 4 dies. Okay, so I have put together the 2 dies and added a couple stickers to hold them in place and keep them where I want them. And this is going to go through on an early espresso panel, and I'm going to use the dryer sheet for this. We can flip it over and use the other side a little bit too. And let me see, if I turn it this direction, yeah, it's not all gonna fit on the dryer sheet that way. Okay, we're gonna go this way. And I want to turn this just a little bit diagonal So about like that should be good. And I need my clear plate on top. And that's not as diagonal as I would have liked. Okay, that's feeling a little bit too tight. And the reason for that is that I am not diagonal enough. And I've already started to cut that corner. So let's move this down. You know what? I am going to lay this on here like this. And I think that'll all fit on there. I'm going to cut this part of the cardstock off. That's going to allow me to get in there a little more diagonal. Get away from that first cut because that was wrong. Make sure that we're all straight. And I think we're on there. Okay, let's try this again. I don't think I had too many dryer sheets. It's just that that die was all going through at one time and my machine didn't like it. So when that happens, move your die a little more diagonal. Okay, so now we will pull these dies off of here. And then very carefully, we're going to peel the outer excess trash off, and then this. And all those little pieces hopefully will stay behind. Just like that. And now we won't be using this piece for this card, but we've got a nice stitched rectangle here that can be used later. So I'll set that off to the side. And for now, that's all I need. This kind of curled a little bit as I was pulling it off, but it'll be okay. All right. So let's start building this card and then we'll do, sorry, I've got a frog in my throat this morning. We'll do a little bit of stamping and a whole lot of coloring. And if you want to see how I colored these gorgeous flowers and leaves, stick with me. We'll get there. Okay, so my fold is at the top, yes. I'm going to take a 2 by 4 1/4 inch piece of daffodil and put it right about there. And I'm going over to the right roughly an inch. Okay, now I have cut a vanilla panel that will fit behind this frame and just fill in the opening of it. Okay, and the measurements for that are 4 3/4 by 3 1/4. Okay. So let's do some stamping. I will be using the large floral stamp from the Ornate Style stamp set. I'm going to stamp with Early Espresso. And then I'm just going to center this on that panel and give it a good press. And just like that. All right, we're going to be using alcohol markers on this, and so I always like to make sure that my ink is really dry and set before I start coloring, because you can get a little bit of bleeding. When you use alcohol markers like our Stampin' Blends, you want to use a water-based ink when you stamp your image, because the alcohol will not cause it to bleed. Although, like I said, if it's not completely dry, it could a little bit. So just remember, water-based ink for alcohol coloring. Give me just a second. I'm going to go over and hit this with my heat gun, and I'll be right back. So here we are, ready to color. Let me set some things aside here. The colors that I will be using are So Saffron, the light and the dark, Daffodil Delight, light and dark, Old Olive, light, Mossy Meadow, light and dark, Petal Pink, dark, Soft Suede, light, and Cajun Craze, light and dark. Okay, let me show you how I did this. I'm going to put my sample right here so that you can see it. I started by using the Daffodil Delight light, I think, at the tips of the leaves. And a lot of this is going to get covered with the green here in a minute, but by adding this yellow to the tips, it's going to give those leaves just a little more visual light and darkness. Okay, the next color I'm going to use is Old Olive Light. And I'm just going to start at the base and start filling in the entire leaf. And I'm just kind of doing a flicking motion, very feather light. And then I'm going to flick just up into that yellow area a little bit as I do each leaf. Next, and now we start at the base of each petal and flick out. Just like we did the leaves, only we're doing Cajun Craze. The center of the flower is going to be the dark. And coming down here, you have to kind of decide what is flower and what is leaf. And you're the artist here, so you decide if that lower section is leaf or flower. I chose to call it leaf. Okay, and I'm just kind of bringing that green up into the yellow. The thing about coloring with alcohol markers, Stampin' Blend markers, is it's all about layering lights and darks and adding shadowing. And the results are simply stunning. I absolutely love coloring with Stampin' Blend markers. My favorite medium used to be colored pencils, and I still love my colored pencils. But there is just something about these markers that I can't stop loving them. Okay. So a couple more here. Okay, and then in the background here, there's a little bit of void that I think is going to be greenery. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill those in right now. I might end up darkening them up later. Okay. I'm going to leave these voids because I don't think that that would be greenery. Whoops, I took the lid off. There it is. Now I am going to move on to the Mossy Meadow Light. And I'm going to do the same thing again, but I'm not going to go as high this time. I'm just going to start adding some depth and shadows. And when you do this, that flicking motion, light as a feather. Light, light. You're not using a heavy hand. And I'm just going along the base of each leaf and bringing that up. There are several colors of these markers that we will be losing here this year very soon when Stampin' Up! Retires the 2018 to 2020 in colors. And the markers that we have in those colors are Call Me Clover and what's boy, my brain is not thinking. Pineapple Punch and Lovely Lipstick. So if you want those colors, be sure and order them before that retirement list comes out, because once that happens, the in color items typically sell out very quickly. I think I'll go ahead and darken those voids in here. All right, now I'm going to do just a little bit, not much, a little bit with the Mossy Meadow Dark. This is going to add a lot of deep green, so I don't want to overdo it. A little bit of flicking. I always recommend buying the light and the dark markers at the same time. You want both if you're going to be able to use them the way they were intended. One more. Okay. I'm going to show you how I colored these flowers now. They are done in Cajun Craze, but I started with Petal Pink. So at the tip of each petal, you're going to go in and just add that color. You don't have to go all the way down because it's going to get covered anyway. But this is going to allow those petals to look light and airy at the ends, almost as if they're not colored. Okay. Light Cajun Craze is next. And now we start at the base of each petal and flick out. Just like we did the leaves, only we're doing Cajun Craze. The center of the flower is going to be the darkest. But you don't want to go all the way out to the ends of those petals. You've got to let that petal pink color still exist out there. All right. Now I'm going to do a little bit more shading with the Cajun Craze Dark. And again, just like with the leaves, I'm not going to take it as far out because I don't want to cover up all of that Cajun Craze light that I just did. I just want to create some shadowing, some depth. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to take the Daffodil Delight Dark, and I just noticed that I forgot to fill this one in, so there. And then on these others, I'm going to start with the Daffodil Light. And I'll fill those in. And then I'll come in with the dark and just shadow from the side. Give it a little more depth there. Little shadow. Okay. Now, for the yellow flowers, I started with So Saffron Light, and I just went out at the edges like we did before. And just do quick work. Pull the color in. Again, just at the edges, because we're going to fill in with some darker colors, pulling in from the center. So this doesn't have to take long. Sort of like that. All right. Now we go to Daffodil Delight Light. And we just start flicking from the inside. And you won't see as much of a difference in these because we're using the same yellow on yellow on yellow. And it's a lighter color to begin with, so. Okay. Now we go in with Daffodil Delight Dark. And we just pull that in from the center. Okay, finally we're going to go in with Soft Suede Light, and we're just going to color in the centers of these yellow flowers. And finally, something I forgot to do, the stems here, I think I'll use Mossy Meadow Light. And there we go. So now it's time to put this together, and this is going to fit right behind this frame. So I'm just going to put a dot of glue real close to the edges here. And I will lay this in here like that. There we go. Now this goes on here, and you can decide which direction you like. I think I'll go that way. I want to add just a little bit of glue to the brown. There. Keep it all together. Like that. Okay, next up we need to cut a couple of ovals. On this one, you see the stitching around it. I use the stitched shapes dies for this one and the layering ovals for the yellow. But that means you have to have two different sets. So I'm going to show you that you can do it with just the layering ovals, and you just don't get the stitching. Okay. So we'll go ahead and cut these. And on this little oval, I want to say my friend, and that is from the Ornate Thanks. Okay. Let's put some of these away from the previous card so that I can reuse that block. Okay, we're going to use Early Espresso ink, my friend, and then this will glue on top of the Daffodil Delight scalloped oval. All right, and then I want to pop this up. So I'm going to put a few pop dots on the back, and I'll show you why I'm using so many here in a second. We're going to add some gold thread, just a little bird's nest worth of gold thread. I've got maybe 30 inches, 30 inches. For some reason that sounded like too much. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of wad it all up and stick it down onto those dimensionals. And then you can kind of adjust as you need to. Okay. So that's going to give me just a little bit of visual interest there. Cut that little end off. And then finally, if I had ordered the gilded gems, I would be using those, but I was thinking, oh, I don't need those. I'm going to use what I've got. So I've got some gold sequins here. And what I like to do when I add sequins or something that doesn't have glue on it already is add a little bit of glue to my placemat, dip and stick. And let's find a spot for this one over here. There. Okay. The front of my card is now finished. And on the inside of this one, I kept it very simple. I just wanted to say hello. Hello is from the, oh goodness, the Tulip stamp set that's in the mini catalog. And I didn't grab it to keep over here, so I'm not going to be able to do the same saying. So my friend, I think I'll do a smaller inside panel on this one, maybe. I'm going to do the border stamp like that. One, two. Do I want it on all four? Let's just leave it on two this time. And my friend, your kindness is so loved. My friend, just wanted to say thank you. My friend, you made my day. How about that one? You made my day. If I can find it. You made my day. It's right here. I can get it turned over. You made my day. Okay. So you can see that this stamp set Ornate Thanks is not just for thanks. You can use these words to say all kinds of things. And you can combine these other words with like happy birthday. Seriously, my friend, happy birthday. I wasn't sure how to say thank you. No, that's on here. I wasn't sure how to say happy birthday, so here's a card. I mean, there's all kinds of things. For now, let's call it good. And I'm going to add this to the inside, like this. And again, we're just keeping the inside on this one really simple. And there we go. All right. So if you like these products, be sure and get on my website, kristathomas.stampinup.net. Go to the Shop Now tab and place your order as soon as you can when this goes live on April 1st. Remember, there's 2 bundles and the paper is so pretty. So I hope that this helped show you some of these products, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a good day. Bye.